So there's going to be another general election. Maybe you're not that excited. Maybe you're still disappointed by the last one. But in a democracy, you get choices. So you expect the people who made a different choice to be disappointed. But the great thing about democracy is that if you wanted something different, you can always keep putting another point of view, and there will always be another vote. Wanting to silence dissent or saying one vote counts forever is sticking a knife in democracy. The last general election, the referendum, we've had two really big votes in the last 2 years. Now we've got another one coming. Think about something that's been strange, because it's not just the losers who've been disappointed. Even the winners weren't happy. What happened? And at least if you vote for the winning party, usually you're satisfied for a time, and the winning party itself is happy for a time, but it didn't happen this time. Even though most people voted against them, 2 years ago the Conservatives squeaked in by that much. But they've been behaving ever since as if they rule the world. That's disappointed a lot of people who voted for them last time. I've spoken to a lot of people on the doorsteps. They liked David Cameron. He seemed like a moderate and not the nasty, arrogant sort of Tory. And the Tory party promised them something they wanted. They said, voting Conservative means two things above all: stable government and economic success. Well, that's all gone, never to return. I remember literally the day after the last election, they shut down support for disabled people getting into work just because they could. Nasty. All the way up to today, with the Tories hell-bent on inflicting the most damaging hard Brexit they possibly can. Arrogant. In between, they've messed around with our schools, they've put the NHS in crisis. Their far right hates the environment, so they've cut green energy, so the Tory party's gone from hugging a husky to tilting at windmills. But above all, this Tory government meant utter political chaos and instability. This Tory government has meant economic disaster. The worst of it's in one word: Brexit. First the Prime Minister went. None of them had a clue what was going to happen next. But they're still behaving as if, well, at least as if they rule Little England. Inflation is rising, jobs are being lost, companies are moving out of Britain. They're throwing away the biggest single market in the history of the world, so much for the economy. And Britain is getting smaller and meaner and nastier. It's a terrible disappointment to everyone who believes in real British values, and still no one has a clue what happens next. I say that, I bet one person does. Because in Britain we have general elections every 5 years. Now, you've not lost count of the years. The only reason not to is if a weak Prime Minister is in a total panic and does a massive U-turn. Theresa May has called an election before it's even halfway time, and it has to be because she's panicking. She's seen some secret figures of how bad it's going to be, and she's making a run for it before total disaster makes her government look like the incompetent shambles that they are. The most unstable government in decades, the economy thrown in the bin. Now there's only chaos. Mayhem. What can the Tories say to all the voters they've let down? All the Tories stand for now is hating foreigners and bossing people around. And it's not even just Tory voters who are disappointed. Tory MPs resigned from Parliament and left politics because they're so fed up. That never happens. Even David Cameron did it. How much of a disappointment do you have to be for the guy who's just been Prime Minister to say, well, that's it, I'm sodding off? Since the local elections a year ago, every week there have been by-elections where people vote for new councillors. And the Tories have lost 21. Well, they must be disappointed with that. I've never been a Labour supporter either. But even I can see that you need a strong opposition to hold the government to account when they're in such a mess. No such luck. If you voted Labour last time, well, you'll have been very disappointed when they didn't get in, but they missed by a mile. And since then, they've just got worse. The one reason the Tories get away with looking like grown-ups after all their mayhem is the Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn and Labour MPs and members who are even more at war with each other than the Tories are. When the country really needs someone to force the Tories to account, All you've got is the worst opposition in living memory. They're only interested in fighting themselves. And the thing that's really disappointed people is the one that you'd never expect. The most far-left Labour leader ever. And he votes with the Tories on everything. He's given the Tories a blank cheque to do whatever they want on Brexit in every single vote in Parliament. It's a shameful dereliction of duty. And Labour are boasting they want a harder Brexit than the Tories, a harder Brexit than UKIP. No wonder there are Labour MPs who resigned from politics too, left Parliament because they're so disappointed. And since the local elections a year ago, in the by-elections every week to fill in new councillors, people have voted out Labour and they've lost 13-2. What a disappointment for what a letdown of an opposition. Then there's UKIP, I suppose. At the last general election, they got one MP, just one MP. Guess what happened? He's left the party because they've also spent so much time fighting him. Since they got their dream result in the referendum, UKIP has gone through 4 leaders, one of them twice. All they ever had was hate, and now they've got no one else to hate but each other. They're just falling apart. No UKIP MPs, very few UKIP councillors, and you can guess what's been happening since the local elections a year ago and the by-elections every week where people vote for new councillors. They've not been voting for UKIP. 7 UKIP councillors have gone. None of them have been replaced by a UKIPper. Every time people vote for somebody else, they must be disappointed with that, but nobody's even paying any attention anymore. Then there's the Liberal Democrats. Everybody knows at the last general election we had a terrible result. It's the worst since I've been alive. We all worked hard, we were all disappointed, our voters were disappointed, but that's not where it finishes. 2 years ago we still had over 40,000 people still working hard as Lib Dem members, still getting millions of votes, and we didn't give up, we went up. Within a week of the last election, we had more than 50,000 members. Still more people joined. When the referendum went leave by that much, more people joined. By a couple of weeks ago, we doubled our membership to 85,000 people. On the day yesterday, Theresa May panicked and ran for an election. Lib Dems surged to more than 90,000 members. I can't tell you what the figure is now because it's going up by the minute. And the reason we're growing is because Britain is better than this. And there's only one party that is fighting against the disappointment. Because standing for a better future inspires people, standing up, being a proper opposition, standing up to the Tories, standing up for working together, for trade and peace and prosperity, and the environment and education, and saving our NHS, and our MPs have actually gone up instead of quitting. One of those brand new Lib Dem members just last year was determined to make a difference, and she did. She won voters over and overturned a huge Tory majority when she was elected MP for Richmond Park. And since the local elections a year ago, in the by-elections every week where people vote for new councillors, where Tories lost 21, Labour lost 13, UKIP lost 7, the Liberal Democrats have been winning. Again and again, week after week, people have voted in 33 new Liberal Democrat councillors. You don't have to give up. You do have a choice. You can change direction. You don't have to live with disappointment. There's always a new day. We're in league with the future. Join us. If you want the chance to stop Brexit, to remain in the European Union and make a go of it, if you want Britain to be the open, tolerant, outward-looking country we can be proud of again, if you believe in freedom, fairness and a better future, join the Liberal Democrats. Vote Liberal Democrat. Theresa May has called a panic election at the time that suits her, that she thinks she can fix the result. But we have a choice. Mrs. Mayhem, prepare to be disappointed.